Hey guys, and welcome to Mind Time. Today we're going to be setting up Plot Manager, which is a software used to control the plotting in Chia. We could use the regular GUI, user interface, but it's uh, it's lacking in a couple ways. So we're going to go ahead and use Plot Manager. So first, let's go to the internet and let's see if we can find it just by typing in Plot Manager in the search. And here we go, Swar Chia Plot Manager on GitHub. So what we're going to do is first we're going to go to this green code button and hit download zip. Okay. And then we're going to export or extract this folder. And the way I like to set it up is I like to go to my C drive and I like to create a new folder called Chia. I would not recommend putting this directly in the C drive folder because oftentimes there are certain permissions required for that and Windows will block software from writing to it. So inside the Chia folder, select that and extract. Once we've done that, under C, then Chia, then we have Swar Plot Manager. Now the next thing we need is before we can run Plot Manager at all, we need to get Python. So we're going to go ahead and Google Python download. Make sure you get it from the actual Python website. Under downloads, Python 3.9.5 is the current version. And then we're going to go ahead and install that as soon as it's done downloading. So when I install Python, I like to add Python 3.9 to path. These are some little things that if you just click now will save you time and headaches in the future. And I like to go to customize. We want to absolutely make sure it's installing pip. However, I like to choose all the options just to make sure that all my bases are covered. Okay, we're going to pull up the GitHub here with the installation instructions for your reference and mine. Okay. And then with the Python installation, we're just going to disable the path length limit. All right, perfect. So why don't we put this down here, and let's also pull up command prompt, and it's best to run this as an administrator. Okay, perfect. So now what we're going to do is first we're going to see if pip works on our computer. Now, if you opened your command window before you installed Python, you will need to close it and reopen it. So now let's do pip, and you should get some sort of output. If you don't, or you receive an error, then pip is not properly installed. This is perfect. Okay, so what we're going to do is in our folder explorer, we're going to go to the directory where we installed Plot Manager. So for this instance, it's going to be c/cia/swar Plot Manager. For these addresses, they can be kind of confusing and hard to type. So what I usually do is in my file explorer, I go to that directory, then I right click in the address bar and hit copy address. So under the command prompt, we're going to do cd, which is a command for change directory, meaning go to a different folder. And then we're going to paste the directory that we just chose. Okay, so now we are in that directory. After we do that, we're going to come down here and we're going to run this command, pip install -r requirements.txt. Let's go ahead and install that. Okay, it's going to go through a few different things. And at this point, Plot Manager is installed. But it's important that we make some changes before we run Plot Manager. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my Chia folder, and I'm going to create a new folder called Plots. For me, this is where I'm going to store my temporary files before they're moved to an external hard drive as the permanent files. We'll go back into Plot Manager. We're going to edit this config.yaml.default file. And actually the first thing we're going to do is make a copy of it. And we're going to rename it to just config.yaml. This way we have the default file in there if we ever want to reference it. And then the config.yaml is the one that we'll actually be using. We're going to go ahead and open that up. And let's take a look at this. So as we go through this, I'm going to highlight some things we need to do. And there may be a couple other changes as well. So the first one is we need to change the directory of where these are stored, or of where Chia is, I should say. So here we have Chia location, and then we need a directory. In this example, it's going to be c/user swar app data local Chia blockchain blah 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 all the way to Chia exe. So we're going to go ahead and find that. Let's go to Windows, User, Admin in my instance, and we're not going to click Chia. We're supposed to hit App Data, but it doesn't show it here. What you need to do is go to View, and then select Hidden Items, and it'll show additional folders. So we're going to go App Data, Local, Chia Blockchain, App, and then your version. This may be different for each person depending on when you're watching this. Resources, app.asar.unpacked, daemon. And then we're going to copy this address. Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and paste this after Chia location. And then we're going to do /chia.exe. This way, the plotting software knows where our Chia executable is, so it can go ahead and run it. Now, another thing I would do is come down to log level, and I would change this to info. What this is doing is it's providing more information than you would normally get inside your log file. Next, we have where our log folder is going to be. It shows S drive, Chia logs, plotter. We don't have an S drive on this computer. So we're going to go to our C drive. Let's go back into Chia. And let's make a new folder. Let's call it logs. Let's click on that folder and copy this address. Perfect. One thing to note is with any of these, after the variable, there's a colon, and then you need a space and then the information. If you get errors, go back and check this file to make sure it's all formatted correctly. So let's continue down. There's many different things you can change in here, but I'm just going to go over the most important ones at this time. As we get to the bottom, these are our settings for our jobs. First, I'm going to go ahead and delete the second job and just focus on one at the moment. I'm going to name this job 1TB NVMe. That's for my own reference to know that this is running on a PC with a 1 terabyte NVMe. Max number of plots, I actually increased to 99999999. The idea is that I want this to keep running until I tell it to stop, and not when it reaches 999. Farmer public key and pool public key are not needed at this time because you already installed the Chia software and got the key through that. For the temporary directory, we're going to select the directory where we want to store our temporary plots. For me, I'm going to put this in the Chia/plots folder that we created. Perfect. Now for the destination directory, this is the file or the final folder where our permanent files are going to be stored. And for me, it's the external hard drive. I'm going to delete the 2 files that came on that drive and copy the address of that external drive. Perfect. I'm going to leave most of these variables the same. The ones that I am going to change is max for phase 1. I want to reduce that to 1. The reason for this is each stage of plotting, which there are 4 stages, uses different resources on the computer. Stage 1 being one of the most intensive on the CPU. If you have multiple plots being done in phase 1 at the same time, it's quite a load on your CPU. So this is going to make sure that phase 1 completes before the next plot starts. For stagger minutes, I actually keep this at 0. The reason for that is we are currently only allowing 1 plot to be made in phase 1 at one time. So as soon as phase 1 completes, then the system will go ahead and try and start another plot. This way, you're not wasting any time with stagger minutes. However, you're only allowing 1 in phase 1 at a time. There's some other settings you can play here, such as the memory buffer or the number of threads, depending on your RAM and CPU. You may also be able to have more plots run at the same time if you have a larger SSD in your PC. So for me, let's see here. Max concurrent, I want 3. The reason for that is, since I'm only using a 1 terabyte C drive, and I have my system files on it as well, I can't have too many plots run at the same time because they'll take up too much space on that drive. This is going to make it so that only 3 run at a time, leaving enough room on my C drive for those 3. If I run more, I'll run out of space and the processes will stop. If you have a larger drive, you may be able to do this with more concurrent plots. Or if you're using an additional drive, you could use that as well. Okay, perfect. I think we have everything here. So let's go ahead and we'll save this and exit. Now back to our wiki here. We did the configuration file. Now we're going to go back to the command line. We're still in our Swar Chia Plot Manager file. And we're going to do python manager.py space start. We're going to go ahead and run that. Okay, perfect. So it says Plot Manager has started. Now we'd like to be able to view these processes. So we're going to do plot manager.py space view. So now that we've done that, we can see what's going on. We have our manager status, which is currently running. Our temporary directory in the C drive, it shows the space used and the total, so we can make sure we have room. And our destination drive, which is currently empty. The load on the CPU and RAM, and a record of how many plots have been completed. Currently, we have 1 job running. It's the 1 terabyte NVMe. And here's some information about that job. We can watch the elapsed time, what phase it's in, the amount of space it's using, and the progress. As this continues and it goes through different phases, it'll show the amount of time spent in each phase here. After this completes phase 1, it'll automatically start a second job, and that'll appear on a second line, third, so on and so forth. This screen is something you probably want to keep up so that you can continue to see what is going on. Anyways, this has been how to install Plot Manager on your plotting machine. This has been Mind Time. We thank you for joining us. Please subscribe so you can see what's coming next. We still have some things to cover in this series. Thanks, and good luck.